Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to attend this IAC Acoustics Dyno Room webinar. What we're looking at here is the IAC Acoustics 52,000 square foot manufacturing facility in North Aurora, Illinois. So my name is Mark Smith. I'm the Dyno Test Room Sales Manager for IAC Acoustics. Here you have our address, phone number, and my email address, msmith@soundseal.com. If you'd like to give me a call or shoot me an email anytime, I'd appreciate it. So first, a little company structure here. That's a picture of our parent company, SoundSeal's facility on the East Coast. SoundSeal is a leading manufacturer of commercial architectural acoustical sound control products and materials, offering a wide selection to the acoustics and noise control markets. What they do is mainly acoustical blankets, curtains, duct wrap, pipe wrap, fabric panels, baffles, and things like that. And they're definitely the best in the business, but that's another webinar on a different day. Today it's Dyno Rooms. And SoundSeal has over 37 years of experience. They have technical support and know-how to solve just about any noise control problem. A dedicated staff to guide customers and project teams step-by-step through specifications, ensuring that we get the job done right the first time. So SoundSeal acquired Industrial Noise Control, an acoustical metal panel company, in October 2014. And then SoundSeal acquired IAC Acoustics assets and manufacturing capabilities and designs in December of 2015. So there's no confusion moving forward. The company will operate as IAC Acoustics, a division of SoundSeal. And we've taken Industrial Noise Control's unique expertise with Dyno Room enclosures, and we continue offering the INC Dyno Rooms offered by IAC Acoustics. So the presentation topics today, we're going to talk about power sports dyno rooms, the different types we have. The key dyno room features, we'll talk about our modular design and construction, the access and visibility, different doors and windows and such available, and our ventilation systems. Then we'll talk a little about the installation details and how easy they are to go together. And at the end, we'll have our website and contact information, and you can shoot me any questions you have. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about how a dyno room works. We're going to talk about why you need a dyno room. We'll talk about the different types of dyno rooms that we offer and available, and their standard options. And then we'll also talk about the options that are available beyond that, and how to select the best dyno room for your application, and how IAC can assist with custom dyno room projects. So why a dyno room? Well, we all know dynamometer equipment is used to test an engine across many different conditions, RPM, throttle, horsepower, fuel mapping, etc. And dynamometer testing is very loud, dirty, and can be very hazardous. So the two main things, obviously, is noise and the ventilation for the exhaust and heat buildup. So with an INC dyno room enclosure, we provide a quiet, secure, properly ventilated environment for testing your equipment and for the testers and the people in the surrounding areas. So the different room applications and types, three main types and then some custom types here. So the rooms are set up for specific types of power sports equipment and testing. So we'll start with motorcycles, which includes ATVs and trikes. The motorcycle room usually has a person inside the room. As you see in the upper left there, you have an instructor and also a rider. So there are usually a person or people in the room. Generally smaller engines, not quite as loud. So the room will be designed for that reason. Then you have the engine testing. The engine room, usually it's in there by itself. The operator's usually outside in a control room area, in an actual control room, or just an area outside the window where their control center will be, not usually having anybody in the room. And then the chassis design, people will be in there. Again, the complete vehicle is brought into the room. So you can test the whole vehicle with the engine, transmission, suspension, which offers nice capabilities there for the chassis room itself. And then we have unique and custom application designs. We do a lot of rooms for mining and farm equipment dynamometers, for vehicles from John Deere to Caterpillar, and big trucks and earth-moving vehicles. And also for lab testing, for reliability. It's much more efficient than trying to test in the field for such as piston manufacturers and exhaust muffler manufacturers and so on. So we do custom rooms for many manufacturers. So now the dyno room particulars. When you call me, the first thing we'll talk about is the dimensions. We'll figure what is the best length, width, and height for your particular need. We need to take into account not only the dynamometer, but if you're going to have any type of stand, ramp, people in the room, are you going to have any toolboxes, things like that. So we'll discuss the dimensions so everything can fit in there comfortably for you. Next, we'll talk about the ventilation. Our ventilation systems are flow-through design specifically configured for high-performance dynamometer testing, but and they're different. They're all different for the different rooms and different testing, so we'll talk about what your needs are. And of course, these ventilation systems have inlet and outlet systems, and it's very important that we silence those holes in the walls for the acoustical integrity of the enclosure. Anytime you put a hole in any of these rooms, there's the capability of noise screaming out those holes, so you definitely have to silence the inlet and the outlet. We'll talk about what ventilation system works best for your application. And then we'll talk a little bit about the panel design, the sound isolation. So we have standard panel designs for each different type of dynamometer room, but it can be tailored to where the room goes and what type of testing you're doing. So we start out with a specific panel for each system, and we'll talk about what your needs are specifically. So we'll talk about, as we go along here, the different main rooms as far as the motorcycle with the ATV and trike and the engine and the chassis. And we start at the STC 40 panels and go up to 60 plus. So we can tailor the room to your where it's going in your building, the type of testing you're doing. We're not just stuck with one panel design per application. And then we'll talk about where it's going, the physical protection. What do you need? We're going to have our modular steel panel construction that isolates and secures your equipment and your people. So it provides a safe, secure work environment for the operating technicians and all the other technicians in the area. So we'll talk about who's working in the area, where the dynamometer and the room are going to go, and what the best fit is for your host building. Then we'll talk about the access and visibility. We have a wide range of vehicle and personnel door sizes and designs available. So we'll work on that, and we have sound-rated doors and windows that also maintain the acoustical integrity of the enclosure. Very important to have acoustical doors and windows in these enclosures that will match or exceed the system design, which is not that easy to find. So first we'll start out here with the motorcycles, which includes the ATV and trikes. So the standard motorcycle room comes in an STC 41 4-inch thick modular construction panel. The interior ceiling height is 8 feet high, which works well for both pit and floor-mounted dynamometers. Standard, you'll get one 4-foot wide by 7-foot high single swing STC 51 dual seal cam lift hinge entry door. And we'll talk about options later, but that's what comes standard. And one 42-inch wide by 42-inch high acoustical double pane viewing window. And you can put it just about anywhere around the room and add extra windows too, which we'll talk about. And also I'd like to mention here we're the authorized vendor in Harley-Davidson Tool and Equipment Program. So if you're a Harley dealer or someone's near you, you'll probably have one of our rooms if you have one in the facility, which most of them do. So here, again, we have some room sizes that are very common. I don't want to call them standard because we do make all the rooms to order per order. So, but these are very common sizes based on the different types of dynamometers out there for motorcycles and ATVs and trikes. So here we have some common sizes, 12 by 15 up to 16 by 18. One window standard, the 4 by 7 door standard. In any room that's 12 feet wide or wider, you have a 6-foot wide double door available. The 7-foot wide double door, which is also very nice for the ATV and trikes, is only available in a room that's at least 13 feet wide, and as you can see, 14 and up here. But anything 13 feet wide or wider, you can get the 7-foot double door, and additional windows are available in all the rooms. So here we have a floor plan which shows just an outline of a dynamometer in the room. It's like a 250i from DynoJet. IP pit model here. So what you'll notice is the drum lines up with the middle of the door. So that's very important when you have a single drum. The middle of the drum must line up with the center of the door. So although it might only be 7 or 8 inches wide, it's offset, and you won't have much room on the left side for the eddy current there. It's usually the left. It could be the right, but usually the eddy current's on the left. So the dynamometer has to be placed to the left of the room, lining up the drum with the center of the door and the inlet plenum there. So here we have the side elevation. You see the 30-inch 5-horsepower fan assembly on the roof with the transition. On top of the room, the air is pulled through the silenced inlet plenum through the grill and past the bike or vehicle, and then up the silencers and out the room. So what we're supplying here is we're supplying up to the top of the inlet and to the top of the fan. So since every situation is different of where you're going to go with your ductwork out your wall or ceiling, that will be done locally by your local HVAC guy. You have to contract for that. The inlet, you can pull the host building if it's big enough, the air for that, or you can also duct that out the building. About half and half people, some duct it and some don't. And here we have the section view showing how the airflow comes. We have here shown the high temperature flexible hose kit. Now what you get with that, it's not necessary, but we recommend it. It captures the exhaust closer to the source. It's two 11-foot long, 6-inch diameter high temperature flexible hoses that you place them right behind the exhaust. Give yourself maybe a foot or so behind if you want to put any probes or anything up the exhaust. You want to be touching the exhaust, but you place it about a foot behind, and it also connects to collars underneath our silencers. So this will capture, it's extra safety just to make sure you're capturing all the exhaust in there. We'll talk a little bit later about the room, how much air is used and evacuated, but this does help just as a little safety measure. And you can see here the cutout of the room here. The silencers are on each side of the door, and there's the grill for the inlet and the inlet plenum where the air comes pulled through. The stands are 3 feet high. The silencers are 5 feet high, which brings you to 8 feet to the bottom of the roof, and then you go through with the transitions from square to round and the two 30-inch 5-horsepower fan assemblies that are standard in most motorcycle rooms. So here we'll talk a little bit about a chassis room. So the chassis room obviously is a little bit louder and much bigger. So we'll use a different panel design. The STC48 is still 4-inch thick modular panel, but it's a higher STC panel for louder noise. The interior ceiling height's a little bit higher. Standard it's 9 feet. We can go as high as you need, but 9 feet again usually works for the pit dynamometers and the above ground really well. With this you get an 8x8, 8-foot wide by 8-foot high double swing STC51 dual swing cam lift rise entry door. So that comes standard in these rooms. Again, we go larger often, but we'll talk about that a little later. So the 8x8 is standard. And you get one 60-inch wide by 42-inch high double pane acoustical viewing window. Again, you could put it just about anywhere in the room, and it's very common to have more windows. You do have a lot of wall space here. These rooms are generally 30 feet long. So here we have another floor plan and the side elevation. So for the floor plan here, you see the vehicle here, the double doors you pull in. In this instance here, you pull in and drive up on the drums, and the inlet is in the front, and exhaust fans and silencers are on the roof. So you'll pull in. Again, it's a pull system. It'll be pulling the air through across the vehicle and up through out of the room. We also do have available hoses here, the same hose kit you could put behind the vehicle's exhaust, and attached to the silencers to capture. Since there's people in the room usually, you'll capture the exhaust right at the source. It helps. Here we have a personnel entry door on the side and multiple windows. Another configuration here not shown is it's common, depending on the facility, that it could be backed in. Some people, it works better for them to have their chassis room where they back into it, so we would switch it around. You would back in the oversized doors, and the exhaust, the ventilation system would just be kind of turned around. We'd have the inlet in the front and the exhaust in the back, and very common. Depending on the host building, some people like to pull in, some back in. And again, here's some sizes that are common. We don't really have standard sizes of whatever works. It really goes all over the place as far as what works for people's buildings. But these are very common sizes, and again, with the doors and 8x10 or even larger available. So now the engine rooms. We talked about the engine rooms a little bit. It's very common, similar to the chassis as far as the panel design, same SDC 48, same 4-inch thick panel design. Interior ceiling heights, standard is 8 feet, works for most rooms. Here again, you get a 4-foot wide by 7-foot high single swing STC 51 dual CO cam lift ride entry door is standard, and again 1 60-inch wide by 42-inch high acoustical double pane viewing window. So here on the bottom picture here, you see this is the actual test cell itself. It stops here. You have the 4-foot wide door with a window in it and a 42 by 60. There's the inlet. The exhaust, I'm sorry, and the inlet is right here. The silencer is laying flat on the roof. What this has here is a control room, so his controls are here to look inside that window. Again, sometimes people like to have a control room instead of just a control area. It's quieter for them. They can concentrate more. It's safer and keeps everybody else away from the operator. So here we have a side elevation view and a section view. So here you see basically the room that we just looked at. The air is pulled in through the silenced inlet with the elbow on the roof in this application here. And inside the room here we have a silencer, which actually on a stand, and it'll pull the air through across the engine and up out the exhaust. Oftentimes these silencers also just stand straight up. If your ceiling of the host building is high enough, you just have it stand straight up instead of laying it down flat. And again, optional windows. So here's some pretty common sizes. Again, we could do any size that'll work for your building. These are very common sizes with, again, you can get a double door, 6-foot wide double door, 7 foot in the rooms that are bigger than 13 feet, 13 at least or bigger, with the engine cells. So let's talk a little bit about the features and benefits here. So with the IAC Acoustics dyno room, we protect your dynamometer equipment. So it's not just sitting out in the middle of your facility, people running over it with forklifts or running into it or are using it for anything other than its main purpose. So it protects your equipment, which is very expensive, and it provides a safe workplace for the technicians. So the people, if they're working inside, they have a nice quiet place to work before they're testing the engine. And then for the people outside while it's running, it also keeps the technicians in the area safe. It provides a controlled testing environment, so you have the same room over and over again. You're not just testing somewhere where one day you have the shop door open and one day there's a whole bunch of people by you doing other things. So you have the controlled testing environment the same every time, which ensures test and tuning repeatability. You know, there's no question about it what the different circumstances were. It's the same room every time. So we isolate the high noise levels. So this enclosure with the 4-inch thick panel will keep the noise inside there and also absorb the noise. So we keep your shop quieter for all the other technicians and customers working. And we have proven performance with our panels from STC 41 up to 58 and higher. So again, we'll tailor that to each application. but we have a wide range, a couple different dozen panel designs just in the 4-inch thick that provide protection for each case according to what's necessary. And then also the panels have sound absorption ratings from an NRC 0.80 to 1.05. So I'd like to talk about this just for a minute here. So we'll talk a little bit later about different room designs, but the absorption quality of these panels is very important. You don't usually get that with a lot of building materials. So our panel is a multi-purpose panel. It is a 4 inches thick standard with a solid outer skin and a perforated inner skin. The inner skin is usually 22 gauge perf. The outside is anywhere from 16 to 14 gauge and thicker. So what we do is we put absorptive material inside the panel. So the panel has both absorptive qualities, the NRC, and then a barrier quality, the STC, which is very hard to find in traditional building materials. So it's very important that you have absorption and a barrier. So that's what our panels are, and that's what they're tested at. So we have safe, silent ventilation systems, remove dangerous fumes and heat, which is tested and proven, where very important. It's only as good as your ventilation system here. Again, the high-performance acoustical doors and windows also very critical. It's you're not going to do much good here without good doors and windows, which are very hard to find. We make our own, and they're tested, and so you don't have to worry about that. There's no guesswork. Our rugged modular panel design. These steel panels are very tough. Not much can happen to them. It'll last many, many years. You can take it down. You can make the room smaller. You can make it bigger. You can move it to a different section in your building. You can move it to another building. Happens very often. We have people that have the rooms for 15, 20 years, call me up. They want to make it bigger, or they want to move it to another building. You just take it apart and put it back together. Very rugged. It'll last a long, long time. Also with our systems, you have predictable project, schedule, and cost. A nice feature and benefit here because we have it all designed already as a system for all the panels, the channel, the flashing, the doors, the windows, the screws, the insulation, the caulk. Everything's there. We know what you need. So there's no guesswork along the way of what you're going to need in add-ons. We have over 500 dyno rooms in operation worldwide and growing. And these last three kind of all work together. The IAC Acoustics Dyno Room maximizes your dynamometer investment. It showcases your dynamometer facility and attracts and impresses customers. So if your competitors do not have a dyno room and their dynamometer is just sitting out there in the middle of the shop and it's loud and it's dirty and people are all over, and I know these customers like to go out back and see their motorcycle or engine or vehicle being worked on, and you have a professional facility with the dynamometer in a professional dyno room painted any way you want to match, or just in the bare galvanized steel, and customers are very impressed, and you'll really stand out from the competition. So here I'd like to talk a little bit about our modular steel enclosure design versus a contractor built room. So a lot of people say I can get a contractor to come and build it, might be cheaper, and it usually ends up costing more and not performing as well. But let's go down the list here. We have ours are pre-engineered rooms readily available in kit form, whereas a contractor is going to kind of go by it, kind of guesswork, some gypsum, maybe some block or brick, and maybe some concrete, and not sure how many layers, or if he's going to have some gaps in between the wall, where ours is already set up with, like I said before, the panels, channel, flashing, screws. We know everything that you need. It's already pre-designed and pre-tested. So ours gives you guaranteed predictable noise reduction and guaranteed ventilation performance, where a contractor built is going to have some guesswork there. So it's a really nice benefit of the IAC Acoustics Dyno Room that's already designed. You also get known fixed cost and will stay on budget compared to a contractor built as you're going along. We know everything you need. It's all there. Comes in a kit form. The contractor will have a guess. You know, maybe it's going to be $20,000. Maybe it's going to be this. Maybe it's going to be that. And as he goes along, he realizes things might cost a little more, and the design might have to change to perform the way he wants it to, so ours is already pre-designed. Our modular rooms qualify accelerated depreciation and tax savings. You want to talk to your accountant about that. Also with us, you have a single source performance responsibility. We're providing everything you need for the room as far as the panels, the doors, the windows, where a contractor will probably have to go out and try and find some acoustical doors and windows from somewhere else. You can't just go to Home Depot and find them there. It's not going to work. They're specialty items. We make them here and they're tested, so you don't have any doubt about it. Our modular panel construction is easy to erect and easy to change, like I mentioned before. Other than the panels being heavy, everything comes that you need. It's all marked. The easy 2 to 3 man assembly. You just put the panels together with the channel flashing. Everything's there. The screws, caulk, everything you need. Again, we have the sound-absorbing interior surfaces, which contractor-built room is very difficult. All those traditional building materials really don't have any absorptive qualities at all as far as gypsum or block or concrete or brick. They're just hard surfaces, and what that's going to do is actually make the room louder inside, because all that noise is going to bounce off the walls and elevate it, and it's going to echo and reverberate inside there and make it even louder. So then also, if you have any breaches in the room at all, a louder noise is going to come screaming out of that room. And adding absorptive interior is very expensive if you can find it for those type of building materials. So it's a very key feature. Our rugged structural mechanical integrity, built tough. Our rooms are steel. Again, they're steel panels. They'll last a very long time. Nothing's going to break down on them. You can't put holes in them like gypsum. Corrosion resistant galvanized construction. You can leave it the way it is. You can paint it. It'll take any different type of paint, water-based, solvent-based, a catalyzed paint. We have a powder coat option. We have our own powder coater here, or you can leave it the same. Even the bare steel looks nice. It won't rust. It is coated. And all the components we use in our system meet ASTM E84 Class 1 fire rating. Again, we have high-performance acoustical doors and viewing windows, which is very difficult to find out in the traditional building materials market. High-performance sound ventilation system, very key. We tailor it to each system and to each dynamometer and where it's being tested and what's being tested, whereas a contractor is going to try to find someone to design a room for him, and it might always be different. It might work, it might not. Most of them are very surprised on the type of airflow necessary to keep these rooms safe and clean. We'll talk about that in a little while, but that's a very key element that a contractor-built room is questionable. Again, we have safe, effective exhaust gas extraction, cooling airflow, part of the ventilation system. Fast, predictable project completion schedule. Because everything is already designed and come in components, you know it's just going to take you 2 or 3 guys 3 days to put this up. And a contractor, you're not really sure. He'll guesstimate maybe a week or 2, and then who knows if he's going to stay on schedule. He'll probably be designing it on the fly. Ours has no construction dust, minimal disruptions during assembly. We're not cutting drywall or cutting brick or working with concrete. They're all steel panels and steel components that are pretty much ready to use. And we also have optional outdoor weather kits. If you don't have room in your facility, you can put it outside. So here's some popular dyno room accessories and options. We talked what comes standard in each room. Our silence ventilation systems can be tailored and sized differently to each room. Larger double swing entry doors, additional 42-inch wide viewing windows are available, and larger wide windows, 60 inches and even up to 96-inch double pane acoustical windows are available. We have a pre-wired modular lighting and electric package. I'd like to talk about this just for a minute. I like to call it a starter system because our rooms are sent modular. We're a little bit restricted on what we can do as far as lighting and electric. It's like putting the electric in a house before it's built. You can only do so much. So what we do is we'll have, with this package, we'll have a distribution box outside our panel K, which everything plugs into, and it's stubbed through one panel. On the inside, you'll have switches for your fans and for your lights. and a couple outlets. And if it's a motorcycle, it'll have a plug-in for the dynamometer. The other dynamometers will have to be hardwired for engine and chassis. And then we'll have fluorescent light fixtures, which are surface mounted to the ceiling panels, and they're stubbed through the boxes on the top with heavy-duty cords that plug into each other, and they'll plug down into this distribution box. And also the fans will have heavy-duty cords that plug into the distribution box. So to start for you, you'll want to tap into this and probably run some conduit on the inside once everything's built, and put in extra outlets and so on for other areas of the room that you'll want some power to, and for monitors and so on. So you'll bring your breaker power to this distribution box. So it's a starter lighting and electric that gets you partway there. Earlier I mentioned we have factory-baked powder coat finishes available in standard RAL colors. We have some standard colors and optional custom colors, or again, it can be sent out just in the bare steel. It is coated. It's fine. Half the people leave it that way. Half the people want to get it powder coated or painted. We have available control rooms. Again, that engine room had a control room. We could make control rooms for any of these. We can have additional panels and areas. We can do just about anything with these modular systems. Again, upgraded up to STC and 58 and above panel designs. A couple dozen different panel designs we have to tailor to whether you're, even though a motorcycle room will come with an STC 41 panel, if you're putting it close to your showroom, we can use a 45 panel or a 58 panel, so it'll have extra noise reduction and being in a more sensitive area. We have interlocking rubber floor systems if you don't want to walk in the concrete, and again, the outdoor weather kits. So as I said, these professional IAC Acoustics dyno rooms will set you apart from your competition with a state-of-the-art professional dyno testing facility. If your competition has a room, you're going to want one yourself. If not, you want to be the one who has it. Like I said, people like to see their equipment being worked on, and if they see it in a professional room, it is a big plus. So here we have some system information on the ventilation system. It's a unique flow-through design specifically for dynamometer testing, and reduces the harmful carbon monoxide levels to as low as 4 parts per million. The ventilation system, it requires 8 to 10 room air changes per minute, approximately 1 complete air change every 6 to 8 seconds. And that's where a lot of people don't realize this ventilation system has approximately 2,150 feet per minute also at the inlet. So when you're having a contractor build a room or someone else build a room and they're going to be guessing, I have them call me a lot of times and they just don't fathom that we need 8 to 10 room air changes per minute. But it is necessary to keep everybody safe in the room and to keep the heat out and the exhaust, and you give enough air for the equipment and the engine inside the room. So the system is inherently self-balancing, sized to operate under a slight negative static pressure to prevent exhaust and gas leakage. We don't want any buildup in there, any pockets of exhaust where someone can breathe that in and get sick. Or so it does have a slight negative pressure and cleans the air out every 6 to 8 seconds and complete the room air change for safety. And this is all while maintaining the acoustical integrity of the dyno room. Anytime, again, you put a hole in there, you have to put some type of noise abatement on it. So you need a silencer or a baffle or some type of system to silence any opening in there, which is not easy to do, but ours are tested and designed already for it. So we have additional ventilation options for all the different styles of dyno rooms, motorcycle, engine, and chassis. We have space saver inlet and space saver exhaust overhead configurations. If you don't have enough room in your facility, your ceiling isn't high enough, we can work on with elbows and changing the fan locations and so on to not take up as much room on top. So we do have those different inlet and exhaust options. We have outdoor mounted exhaust fans. There's times, and we've done where the room is actually inside the host building. They cut a hole in the wall and have the exhaust stack outside with the fan outside the building. so that's available. We have increased vent capacity for higher horsepower applications, larger inlet and exhaust applications and fans and ductwork and so on. Also independent fresh combustion air intake. We usually put a opening right above the engine for engine rooms to have an inlet right above the carburetor if you're working on a carbureted engine to get enough air right to the carburetor. And we also have isolated engine exhaust systems where if you wanted to, I've often had a separate little smaller fan with a silencer in the roof, and people will directly hose their exhaust from the engine to this isolated system, and then that'll take out and capture all the exhaust gases from the engine, and then the rest of the room we're just mainly removing heat, so that can be recirculated in your building and not have to be ducted outside. So that's another option for the engine rooms. So for the installation, these are modular kit form, all set up and ready to be assembled by you or a local contractor. They're specifically designed to be installed properly and easily with no previous experience. You have, again, all the panels, channel flashing, everything's marked. You have a packing list of material showing what it is and where it goes. Very simple to be done with a 2 to 3 person crew, usually in about 3 days. And we ship it with installation drawings, and you can call us anytime, talk to me or the engineering department. If you have any questions at all during the installation, we can talk you through it. So basically what you do is you put down the base channel to the floor. It'll be the footprint of the room, and you just start putting the panels in there. We have H joiners that connect the panels together. It'll be a nice, tight, clean system. You put the walls up with the joiners and window panels, the door frame and the door. Then you put the roof panels on, and just the finishing trim for outside corner flashing, inside corner flashing. It's just that easy. And also, if you don't want to mess with it, we do have installation services available with installation professionals we use often. So here we have some new literature. We have a dedicated motorcycle dyno room brochure, and then a brochure that combines the engine and chassis rooms, since they are pretty similar as far as construction style. And those are available to be seen on our website. I can also send them out to you if you'd like them. And again, it has a lot of information in there we talked about as far as dimensions and performance ratings and different features and options that are available for the dyno rooms. And here is our website, iacacoustics.com. Go to Power Sports, and again, a lot of literature and brochures are there that you can download. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. Again, msmith@soundseal.com. Please feel free to shoot me an email anytime, give me a call. I appreciate, again, taking the time in your busy day to listen to my webinar. Thank you.